Hey everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to focus on making sure that foreign key constraints are there appropriately. So no need for the additional data. There is a small keynote just to explain the pattern that is happening. And then I will move directly into code so you can see what's going on. Yeah, pretty simple stuff because we are consistently naming things. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Alright, so thinking about foreign keys, we have to dive a little bit deeper into the naming convention that I chose and that I've been using throughout this series. And we're going to do that by looking at two different tables, the dataset table and the DataPoint table. So first, let's pull apart the script that we're going to use to actually enforce these foreign keys. Pretty simple. We have a lot of dataset, or a lot of, current and parent, this current dataset, this current quote unquote foreign key, this parent foreign key, this parent dataset. Because we just look at the foreign key as this key is a primary key elsewhere. So pulling apart the dataset and DataPoint, just grabbing the dataset table, the database table, and a few of the columns from the DataPoint, we'll look at the dataset first. And the naming convention that I pulled, or that I incorporated into all of our columns and tables, is there's that three-part identifier that tells you what kind of object it is. So on the table side, we have TBL to represent table, and then the three-letter code that represents, is this reference data? This is, the dataset is reference data. GRP for group-based data, or domain, PEO for people when we get there. I know we haven't done a lot of alternate subject types, but we did do relationship, REL, and it's on its own file group. And then it's followed by the subject name, the thing that comes up all the time, the subject name. This is a data set. This data set has a realm, a class, a family, a type, and the normal data set table. So when we're looking at these names, we can go into any table and see that pattern exist. And you can kind of start to stare at the data point names and say, hey, if I remove SYS for system generated column, if I moved everything from the underscore and to the right, because if we think about a date dimension, TBL DAT date, we're going to have sysdat date ID underscore birth, or underscore begin, underscore end, underscore created. We can have multiple of these IDs. That underscore is just a suffix as to why is this specific key here. So when you start removing that stuff away, you begin to get the table that it's originated from. And what I like to do is I start with the column side and format the column to look like the table to figure out what table it's coming from. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you the code in this video. I'll show you the code that I created to actually do that. Now, I created a procedure called dataset, or system object dataset foreign key enforce, and it just focuses on the data point and dataset, the current items and the parent items, and then we have our dynamic script for execution. Same code I had showed in the keynote. If it does not exist, we're going to go ahead and create it. And this pattern is what SQL uses. Just to show you one that I did not create. Actually, would be the dataset one because I only made two new tables. It's just how SQL creates it. This is the source table and this is the table that it's referencing. So we're just reusing that pattern, or adopting that pattern. So with the incoming dataset ID, we're just getting the database information, dataset name for that ID, and then I'm going through that current table, and I'm trying to figure out the primary items that I want to look at. I'm not going to look at primary key because, you know, it's a primary key constraint. I want to look at the data point types that I know are elsewhere. And I specifically didn't add tenant because most of the time the tenant ID, well, the GRP group ID underscore tenant will originate in the data database. And there's no point in linking all of that up and creating unnecessary locks and slowness for writing and updating indexes because of that lock. So we're skipping tenant. We know where it originates from. It's no biggie, but the foreign key parent, the self-referencing primary key, cleanse2, and the taxonomy IDs are very important foreign keys that we always want. So I'm looking for the incoming table, I'm looking for these specific data point type key names so I can figure out, you know, where did they come from? And using that same kind of pattern that I was just talking about, where we're going to pull everything, if it does contain an underscore, we're going to remove all of that. And it's, you know, this is how you do that. -1, so we actually remove the underscore as well. That's how Charindex gives us that position back. And then I add it to, this is kind of the base parent name. Otherwise, I do my sort. So then I like starting with the data point, but you can start with the table. It's really, you can achieve the same pattern either way. So I take this data point name, I take the SYS off of it, I add TBL to the beginning of it, and then I take ID off of it. And that gives me, you know, TBL ref dataset. Another important thing though is that after I get that dataset name, that parent I build, I want to make sure that that they exist in the same database, because I don't want to try to create a foreign key when they are in different databases, because we can't. So if they do reside in the same database, then, you know, very simple. We're just replacing the base script with all of the tokens necessary and executing it. So for every foreign key that we do have, you know, sometimes there are no parents and sometimes we do have a parent. We will 99% of the time have a cleanse2 ID. Relationships do not, shared attributes do not, or the shared attribute base does not. And, you know, everything but a realm has a taxonomy ID. So very easy procedure, simple enough to get our foreign keys up. And I did run it against one of the newer tables that I had created. And it worked just fine. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, like this video and YouTube will recommend it to other users in our industry, and subscribe to support me. I will see you next time.